Guys, I think there might be something seriously wrong with me. You see, I've made a few videos before talking about how I hate the concept of hype. I despise how anti-consumer it is, how disappointed it often leaves people, and how it only really exists to benefit the corporations that keep propagating it, but there's no way around it. Despite how much I've tried over the years to close off the lump of coal in my chest to the very concept, I think I might be hyped for Cyberpunk 2077. See, the thing is, I didn't like The Witcher 3. And there goes all my viewers. But here's the thing, if you did, I am insanely jealous of you. The Witcher 3 is incredible, a true marvel of video game design. It had a ton of hype before it came out, and, in an extremely rare occurrence, not only lived up to that hype, but surpassed it. Everyone seems to agree the game is just about perfect, and I really tried to like it. I love RPGs, and specifically I love the depth and complexity you could get in RPGs of yore, the kind that primarily took inspiration from pen and paper tabletops like Fallout. So when someone told me that CD Projekt Red had made a new RPG with an insane amount of depth, while also managing to have a huge, beautiful open world that lived up to modern AAA standards, I was unbelievably excited. And like I said, I tried to like it, to the point that I put 60 hours into it and finished the main storyline. And yes, I agree that it's a technical marvel, but the reason that I was never able to get into it was because I couldn't get fully invested in the setting, plot, or characters. As I just explained in my video about Hollow Knight, the standard fantasy setting is just so boring to me. Nothing in The Witcher 3 did anything for me, and if you'll recall, the story was the entire reason I was excited to play it. So, despite the fact that I never really stopped being impressed by what they had achieved technically, as soon as my interest in the gameplay ran out, I just sort of hurriedly wrapped up the main quest so that I could say that I had beaten it. And that right there is why I am hyped as fuck for Cyberpunk 2077. A cyberpunk future has gotta be one of the all-time greatest settings for stories, and the prospect of a world like that being as fully realized as the one in Witcher 3, and from what we've been hearing from press releases, potentially better in every way? Hell, even if it's just a reskin of Witcher 3, there is a very real possibility that if they get it right, it'll end up being one of my all-time favorites. However, there's already kind of a spanner in the works of that particular dream. The fact that as of a few months ago, we've now been waiting on it for 4 fucking years. That's right, the original pre-rendered cinematic for Cyberpunk 2077 was released on January 10th, 2013. So that begs the question, where in the world is Cyberpunk 2077? Well, even though CD Projekt has been paradoxically tight-lipped after releasing that Blizzard-quality announcement trailer, it's pretty easy to guess why it's taken this long. The fucking Witcher 3. I mean, it probably wasn't even until 7 or 8 months ago that the main CD Projekt team finally finished up all the DLC and patches for it and started working on 2077 properly. And it's not like, well, yeah, sure it's been 4 years since then, but it'll be out any time now. No. It's been 4 years, and for all we know, it could very well be 4 more. CD Projekt is even on record stating the release window could be between 2017 and 2021, so that's not even an over-exaggeration. And when I realized how long it's been since that first announcement trailer, I started thinking about how a lot of games pull this shit. No Man's Sky, Final Fantasy XV, The Last Guardian, Duke Nukem Forever, Metal Gear Solid 5, Mass Effect Andromeda, Persona 5, Kingdom Hearts 3, and those are just the ones in recent memory. The list goes on and on and on. And regardless of the quality of those games, do you honestly think they benefited or will benefit from the insane wait between announcement and release? And no, I'm not saying this game or any other should be rushed out, but rather that every game should take as long as they need and only announce its existence when it's almost done. I mean, even though I hate the game these days, I still really admire how Hearthstone does expansions. It's practically become a running joke when announcing a new Hearthstone expansion at BlizzCon to say, "And it's coming out within the next year." And by within the next year, we mean sometime next month. And by sometime next month, we mean it's coming out this Friday, with the audience's screams getting louder and louder with each clarification. And that's not even mentioning all the problems that come as a result of announcing your game too early. Like, remember all those trailers for games like Watch Dogs and No Man's Sky that look 20 times better than the actual finished product? Well, why do you think that is? Maybe that they deliberately lied in order to boost day one sales? Well, yeah, that could potentially be a factor, but, and this is appropriate considering we're talking about Watch Dogs, we live in an age of instant communication, so as soon as the game comes out, people will find out that they were lying to us within hours, if not minutes. Or maybe you imagine Dr. Claw in a shadowy conference room somewhere, demanding the devs to make the trailer look twice as good as the actual finished game, so that it'll disappoint people that much more when it does come out. But A, I'm pretty sure Dr. Claw isn't involved in game development, and B, don't you think they'd make the game look like that if they could? So, I'm usually much more inclined to believe it's a case of the devs going, well, we've got like another year or two before the game finally comes out, and by that time, it'll probably look about this good, and then not being able to live up to it. And had the game been announced closer to the actual release date, they could have been far more realistic about what to show off to the public. So, by the way that I've described it so far, it may seem like developers are absolutely insane to ever announce anything until literally seconds before they release the game, right? Well, no, there are reasons why this happens, some legitimate and some not so much. Firstly, and the reason I'm the least sympathetic towards, generating hype. Hype, as discussed earlier, is an insidious concept, yes, but it is a thing, and the longer you're exposed to a game's marketing machine, which will only ever tell you why the game will be amazing, the more likely you are to buy into that idea. So, length of time can be a key factor in generating hype, yeah, but from a less insidious side of the same coin, letting people know that your game is a thing that will one day exist can sometimes be fundamental in its very creation. For example, and this answers the question in the title by the way, CD Projekt Red actually told us in the trailer why the game's taking so long. Quote, "Oh, and you may be wondering why we announced our game so early before release. The reason is that we're still building our dev team, so if you're a talented dude or dudette willing to work in a really different company on a super ambitious project, send us your application right now." So the theory goes that had they kept the game under wraps, it would have been a lot more difficult to gather the team they needed to build it in the first place. And another reason to announce games early would be to appease existing investors and to attract new ones. So if, for example, CD Projekt Red needed money to develop that game in the first place, then putting out a trailer and showing that 10 million people are interested in it is a really fucking good way to go about doing that. That way, current investors are appeased that the final product will make them a profit, and new investors will want to fork over money to get in on it while they can. So yes, there are some reasons on the developmental side of things to announce shit early, but as a consumer advocate, while I might begrudgingly acknowledge its necessary evil, I certainly don't approve of it. I mean, at the very fucking least, don't announce your creation like 7 or 8 fucking years before it'll be feasibly finished. Because if nothing else, you're running the risk that by the time your Cyberpunk game does come out, it'll have accidentally turned into an everyday life simulator. And with how the world's been going recently, that's a very real possibility. So, what do you guys think of games being announced early? Is it a bad thing because it potentially hurts consumers, or a good thing because it potentially helps developers? Leave your thoughts on the subject in the comments below. Also, I want to give a special thanks to my lovely Patreon patrons, including Isaiah Christo, Sawsbucky, Forgotten Paladin, Ludwig, Mageline, Mythnut, and an account I made to donate to myself to pretend I have more fans, for all their support. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.